Okay.
Good morning from ILTA in Las Vegas. Tom O'Connor of GGO and Browning Marine of DLA Piper, along with
And Ron Friedmann of Fireman and Company.
Fireman and Company.
Yes.
All right, excellent. Good to see you. We haven't seen
Good to
you
see
in
you.
person for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, let's catch up a little bit. Tell us what you've been up to.
Well, a little over a year ago, I joined up with my friend Joshua Fireman, who's in Canada. We're in a small consulting firm, and we're helping law firms try and operate more efficiently and effectively, especially with knowledge management.
Ever the eternal optimist.
Ever the eternal optimist, indeed.
Well, but I did think it was very interesting yesterday, the keynote address, really sort of looking at the future. To what extent did that resonate with you?
Well, I have to admit, I read Mary Abraham's summary, very lucid summary of it, so I
Yes.
was not there in person, and the summary, it resonated with me. The humology, the human and technology, it makes sense. I'm not sure I heard it, from her summary, I'm not sure there's anything earth-shattering. Did you see any big takeaway?
My takeaway is that a lot of people have really keyed into Ray Kurzweil's
The singularity?
singularity,
Yeah.
and in some respects, what's going on, I think, in legal technology is sort of the revolution that's coming. Are you finding law firms receptive to knowledge management?
Yeah, most of the firms, I mean, in the U.S., for a long time, the knowledge management in the U.S. has been more about the technology than the people. So I think there's probably a somewhat growing number of practice support lawyers. These are lawyers who stopped practicing typically and are focusing on developing materials. But there's some of that, but it's more typically it's enterprise search and it's portals. And there's a very active and a good market for firms that are rebuilding older portals or rolling out enterprise search or email management, which are some things that Joshua and I focus on.
Yeah.
And there's an increasing number of firms that are expressing interest in innovation, but I think it's harder for them to pull the trigger on something truly innovative than some of the technology.
Now, I know in the past you've been a prolific blogger, and what is your blog?
It's Strategic Legal Technology, which is hosted at prismlegal.com.
And are you continuing to find time to do that?
It's been hard this summer. Also, it feels like August has been a slow month for any significant developments in either technology or the legal market. So I've been light on blog posts. Although my latest blog post just went up last night. Yesterday I gave a short TED-like talk on, which I called "Do Less Law."
Right. I've seen some of the postings about that, but let me interject. I've found that the more I tweet, the less I blog. Have you had that sort of an impact?
Yes, yeah.
Like I get a thought that normally I would write down, and I'll expound on that later when I'm going to write a blog post, and instead I send it out, and that thought is gone. That thought's out in the ether and available.
Yeah, I find that, and it's just a matter of time because I'm spending a lot of time tweeting, and it's just like there's only so much time in the day.
Right. But I've talked to several people who used to blog a lot, and they've made that same observation, that the function of tweeting constantly throughout the day has cut down on their blogging.
Also, I find it's more interactive. I mean, one of the challenges, and this will change soon, my website's on pretty old software and will be upgraded soon, so the comment feature hasn't worked that well. But even beyond that, it's just not that common for folks to comment on blogs. Whereas on some tweets, it's very hard to predict. But some tweets, I think this is going to really spur a lot of conversation and nothing. And then others, it just keeps going for the whole day.
I had bacon for lunch today.
No, I don't do that. Anyone who goes to, and just on Twitter, I am just Ron Friedmann.
Right.
And anyone who goes there, there's nothing, the most personal is like, I'm in Vegas for ILTA. That's about the most geosensitive information I'll get.
So speaking of ILTA, what do you think? I mean, are you seeing anything? What's the utility of big shows, not ILTA in general? Everybody's talking about the death of big law. I'm wondering about are we on life control systems for big conferences?
For me, I think there's a couple different audiences, at least two. So there's one segment of the audience where the educational programming that ILTA offers is very valuable, right? Because there's always new people coming in from other markets. I think for those of us who've been in this market for a while, there's that value, but the greater value is the ability, I'm meeting people I've known for 20 years, and I can catch up with people one-on-one, and for me, those are the highest value interactions. So for example, yesterday, I was walking and talking with an old friend, Bill Spiros, whom I think you both know.
Sure, of course.
And then we ran into Derek Shurin of Recomind and Rudy DeFelice, who's a former practicing lawyer and also a technology guy. And there we are, the four of us in the hallway, having a great conversation about the state of e-discovery.
Yeah, to me, that's the utility of all of these, is that people power.
You know, and I find the same for legal tech. I go as much for the networking, more for the networking than the program.
Right, okay. Any good sessions other than the one you gave that you've seen? So I know
We're
here on day one, so
and it's also, I'm usually so busy with meetings that I have trouble getting to some of the sessions. So
All
let me know what you find out.
All right, I will do that. So we'll close real quickly, but any parting comments on the state of legal technology, life in general?
Well, I think I did have to think about that for this Do Less Law speech, and I think it's interesting to see the number of startups that have entered the market. Now, they're not really directly affecting big law today, but there are some, like Lex Machina, which has IP information, and there's always been a lot of technology around that. And then newer products that are more mainstream for big law, like Kingsley Martin's KM standards and George May's Exemplify. So I think there's a new wave of legal technology coming. At least that's the eternal optimist in me. Whether there's uptake, that's another question.
Okay.
But you know, sort of keying off the keynote of yesterday, the question is that a disruptive is there a disruptive technology lurking in there that is going to cause the demise or reduction in legal services?
See, the cynic in me says that lawyers think technology is disruptive because they don't know anything about it. And they've ignored the stuff we've been saying for 20 years. I'm not sure there's that much disruption.
I agree. I always am reminded, and I think it's attributed to Bill Gates, but who knows who said it, things change much less in 2 years than we expect, but much more in 10 years than we expect. But, we've all been in the legal market for a while, and when I first started in 1989, there was a lot of discussion about the billable hour is dead. And here we are, almost 25 years later, and we're still saying the same thing. So I don't make predictions anymore.
There you go. Well, thanks for joining us. Ron Friedman again from
Fireman and Company. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Browning.
And we'll be recording some more and talking to you again from ILTA in Las Vegas here in the e-Discovery Red Zone.